Greetings everyone, and welcome to LEGO Rewind, where we take another look at old retired LEGO themes. We have a lot of ground to cover today. Let's start with 1998's LEGO Ninja. Ninja is widely considered a castle theme, despite not being confirmed by LEGO or sharing the European stylings that typically come to mind, so it's kind of in the same boat as Vikings. The story isn't easy to sum up. There seem to be multiple versions, some of which openly contradict the sets, but it focused on a few opposing ninja clans, samurai, and gangs of bandits. There is no one protagonist ninja, since you want to be anonymous and blend together comes with a job, but some clans are very brightly colored, kinda defeating the purpose. These two have the right idea. The smaller builds are a mixed bag, like what even is this? But I do quite like the buildings. They're colorful but not garish, simple but not too juniorized. Most structures were tall and narrow, plenty of ledges on the way up for ninjas to grab or rappel or glide to. I gushed over Pirate's lighting, but these have a strong aesthetic presence in a different way. The rocky terrain with bits of shrubbery making you feel high above the rest of the world. I can't get enough of props like this. It gives a better sense of scale, and I wish LEGO still did that, instead of rendering everything. I think a blend of CG backgrounds and practical foregrounds might be a good compromise. It had a decent range of sets over 2 years, but the third year only yielded a few minifigs that each came with a stand and a card. LEGO did that for a few lines in the early 2000s. Now you might be anticipating a lengthy screed about this line being racist, but Ninja is surprisingly alright. The slant eyes are the only awkward bit, and most of these characters don't even have them. It was just LEGO's dumb habit of making people exotic by basically inventing a different art style for them. Nowadays, such characters fit more comfortably into that typical LEGO look. You don't want to downplay things to the point of erasing other cultures, but they should ideally be distinct enough without being caricatured. It'd be a couple more years before they updated their foreign policy after getting in trouble for a certain other line you may have heard of. While very rough around the edges, I do want to see more themes like this, more cultures fall under the castle umbrella to keep things from getting samey. There's a lot of world out there to see. It's not just European forts. Ninja does have a strong character to it, a look and feel all its own, but I think it's a given that if they tried something like this nowadays, they'd do it better. Okay, we can stop pretending. Time for 2011's Ninjago, Masters of Spinjitzu. Granted, it's not retired as of now, but there's a technicality, it's okay. And boy, these ninjas' first iterations are barely distinguishable from their late 90s counterparts. Story's pretty simple. On an island that kinda reminds me of somewhere, Kai, a humble blacksmith, is recruited by Sensei Wu, along with 3 other boys, to be trained in the art of spin jutsu, which literally involves spinning so fast you create a magic tornado, summon the 4 energy dragons, obtain the 4 golden weapons, and reach their true potential to defeat Wu's dark brother Garmadon and his skeleton army. I feel for the jester skeleton. He has lipstick but no lips. This whole setup is so familiar. Zane's my favorite character. Many autistic fans, including myself, relate to Zane.
I sense this one takes things a little too seriously.
You too have the gift?
He's just making a joke, Zane. Remember what we talked about? Your sense of humor, huh?
Yes, it was a joke. Ha ha.
Not sure how I feel about him being a robot and that explaining his personality. Ugh. Going back to this era, you start to notice how awkward and primitive many designs were, especially the dragons. They have charm for how big and fearsome they are, but in terms of building, those giant cartoonish heads and spindly wings just don't do it for me, no matter how hard I squint my eyes. I do like the Earth Dragon. The frills stand out, simple as they are. They'd used those Paraka feet for so many years. Heck, after retiring these bionicle bones in 2011 for CCBS, they brought them back one more time in 2012 to make 2 of this dragon's necks. That's the last time they were ever used for anything, and most people didn't even see them. Some of these early builds are still awesome though. Just look how high off the ground this beast is. That thing looks like it could crush a house. I wondered at first if these wheels weren't even being held in, thinking that's unacceptable. You wouldn't get away with such a flimsy build these days. Did they just not expect you to pick it up? But no, they have a stopper on the inside. Shows how smart I am. Many sets included tops and cards. The game was a huge part of the line's identity at first, but that didn't last long. It's just one of those noteworthy things that's easy to forget. The skeleton builds were alright, but the next year's snake builds were beautiful for 2012. A little repetitive, they all had the same general face, but it is a clever design how they captured the eyes and nostrils. I love the angles on these, they're so aggressive. There was also supposed to be a train, but that was cancelled. I think it's pretty clear from the designs and the Serpentine minifigs that these were practice for Chima, which wasn't far away. In fact, the merman from Atlantis might have been too. You could easily remove the Serpentine from Ninjago and pretend there's some lost Chima tribe. See how they blend in. In fact, fun fact, Chima is one of the 16 realms of Ninjago, because this one island just needed that many alternate dimensions to itself. The ninjas got their own vehicles this time, which would remain a trend till this day. By nature of it lasting so long, Ninjago does repeat itself a lot, but it's gained this intergenerational quality. A lot of kids just getting into Ninjago in recent years, experiencing their version of their favorite jet, mech, or dragon for the first time, may never have seen these early versions. That is a straight up Batmobile. Green was a color of the day. It was all over the snake builds, the packaging, the marketing. They made it this huge mystery. Who is the Green Ninja? Which of our four heroes will ascend and become the most powerful warrior the world has ever seen? None of them. Meet Lloyd Garmadon, the Dark Lord's son. In my day, we didn't settle for one Green Ninja. A lot of kids were pretty upset when Lloyd became the Green Ninja. He was just so whiny and rotten for so many episodes, they were gobsmacked to see him become the hero of the story. I think it works out great though, him going against his father who even seemed okay with it. Spoiled but never really evil. And seeing him grow into a man throughout this decade, witnessing all the adventures he's had, I wouldn't take any of it back. I do find it kind of funny how Kai, the Tahoe of the group, seemed to be the leader at first. Now Lloyd's a leader. It's a Red Ranger, Green Ranger thing. He didn't stay green for long though. In 2013, he became the Gold Ninja, signaling the end times. The final battle. Yep, it sure was. They seriously planned to do Ninjago dirty like that. Not even rounded with a solid third year, but another 2.5 year deal where the ninjas had a pretty lacking arsenal, and the villainous Stone Warriors really weren't much better. I find it one of the most weirdly forgettable waves. It was all set to end right there. Ninjago was just another theme born and raised to be retired like Exoforce and so many others. But LEGO could never have expected the response they got this time. Ninjago had become a runaway success, one of their most absurdly, stupefyingly popular themes of all time. And now kids were really mad. LEGO got so many angry emails they brought Ninjago out of retirement and released new sets later that same year. That is impressive, considering it normally takes them years to develop and release new sets. So yeah, Ninjago was technically a retired theme. So I guess it fits LEGO Rewind's criteria. But how does the reboot stack up? Really, this is where Ninjago goes from decent to good. We pick up in a much more advanced futuristic version of Ninjago City, with the boys on the run from deadly Nindroids. This wave has a strong atmosphere. It all feels so new and big, but not inappropriate for the theme. It's a great continuation, though some of these design choices are just strange to me. In an interesting paradigm shift, Sensei Wu is corrupted by the Nindroids and Garmadon has to help out the ninja. Overall, I find this much stronger than the last wave. The next year's story saw our ninjas fall on hard times. The group went their separate ways after losing one of their own, but word that he may still be alive brings them together on a mysterious island to endure numerous ninja warrior style ordeals. The baddies are a peculiar blend of all the previous waves. They're bony, they're snaky, they're rocky, they're purple. They focused a little more on scenery this time, a series of challenges to retrieve the Jade Blades. Every year they needed some kind of new collectible, some new set of swords the ninjas needed to beat the bad guy. But this time they just gave up the pretense and went, fine, here, have some more Jade Blades. If you collected the whole wave, you'd have a ton of these just laying around. What vehicles we did get on the ninjas side were nuts. That's not a plane, that's a minigun. I think these are some of my favorite designs the ninjas ever got. Something about the exposed arms and hair, but still covered faces is so diehard. I remember this chunk of the story really resonating with people. It had matured, it was growing up with the audience. Characters were doing and saying and surviving things we never could have imagined in those first couple of years. And it would only get more gruesome with the introduction of Morrow, one of Wu's former students, who made a pact with a preeminent, a giant, truly Lovecraftian being that was an entire realm in itself. A 16th of this universe is literally inside this girl's belly, and she hungered for every soul in Ninjago. That's a whole other level of creepy. And it's a shame they couldn't make a set out of it. Here's a knock. but these Wraith builds are still intense. The combination of dark blue, bright green, trans neon green, bits of purple, it's dour but loud, like a mournful wailing in the dead of night. The ghosts themselves are uniquely pedestrian. They look like farmers or fishermen, fashioning their everyday tools into weapons. We also got these little slammer-looking chums that could go over normal minifig heads to possess them, and even the ninja's own gear, which kinda reminds me of something. We were getting some really good dragons by this point, with clever, properly brick-built heads, but the Morrow Dragon was the coolest to date. Just how far they went to capture that long, ribbon-like body whipping through the air. But I don't see him defeating this archer husky. The team expanded yet again when Kai's sister Nia reached her own true potential, unlocking her elemental power and effectively becoming the team's toe of water. People act like this year's Legacy sets are the first time they've remade older designs, like this is some new low. But they'd already done that in 2016 with their Day of the Departed line. Hey, it's a Jester Skelly again. It's around this stage you could see Ninjago become a very different line. This is the original Destiny's Bounty, this is a second. Here's some early architecture, here it is a few years later. It just gets better as it goes along, though 2016 remains one of my favorite waves to this day. It also is my personal favorite opening. We start out above the clouds, whizzing past characters charging deeper into a storm until we're face to face with a new villain. Natakan the Jinn is freed in the modern world and reunites with his old crew of sky pirates, as you do. And they're a pretty memorable gang, some of the most distinct characters we'd seen, from Clancy here to a robot monkey named Wrench. That face. What the heck, is that Redbeard again? Give him credit, at first Natakan doesn't want to plunder anyone, and takes his buddies to Jinjago, the realm of the genies, to retire and party like it's the end of the world, and then the world ends. Turns out the ninjas destroying the preeminent create a domino effect, causing its sister realm, Natakan's realm, to die. This guy just lost his entire world. He swears revenge on the ninjas and his fleet is... wow. On every surface, you can pick out all sorts of clever bits of trickery, pieces used in ways that seem totally out of whack, just cobbled together into surprisingly streamlined shapes. In fact, these remind me of Metal Gear, even the colors. He'd fit in perfectly with these guys. By this stage, Ninjago's story, good as it was, began tripping over itself. Dragons would amorphously change from year to year, the ninjas would acquire powers and then forget they had them, plot threads like the realms dying were dropped, Cole was a ghost for a while. It began to contradict itself, and this was never enough to bring the theme down for me, but it could have used some cleaning up, which is what they hope to do with the Hands of Time. And it's snakes again. These ones are kinda unique though, this time being an army of regular snakes with a hive mind that work together to manipulate human-shaped armor and mechs and such. Neat. This wave ended with a time shift that would change everything, but first, a quick detour to the LEGO Ninjago movie. I do quite enjoy this one. My biggest issue is the editing. I think the story and even most of the gags are fine. People's biggest problem is how it completely dumps the lore of the main series and exists in its own pocket continuity, where none of this stuff happened. But I grew up with things like Transformers and Mega Man, so I'm used to seeing different versions of my favorite characters, and this wasn't a hard pill to swallow. It's a gateway, baby's first Ninjago, and that's important. After 2 movies filled with licensed characters, this was LEGO's chance to prove that one of their original IPs could carry a movie under its own steam. It could not. You know, I have to wonder if the fact that it's one of LEGO's own products may be what killed it. I mean, for me, that's a plus. I want more movies about LEGO's own stuff, but most people probably looked at it and went, okay, now they're not even trying to hide that it's a commercial for their dumb toys. And this was such a downer for me. Imagine a new Bionicle movie or any number of other classics given this treatment. Now LEGO knows to never try that again. The ninjas, more or less parodies of themselves to fit the format, got killer new designs, and their mechs. Oh my word, it's like someone forgot to tell the designers when to stop. That fire mech could step on this one. Every single one of these is a spectacle in itself. They're all so different and surprisingly affordable. Sets based on Star Wars and such have a premium attached. They have to charge you more to pay for that license. But these sets had a lower than average price for their size and piece count, the idea being that the movie would pay for them. Except the movie didn't, so they went on clearance in like a week. I got this one for my birthday for 50 bucks. If this was any other line, it'd cost double that. Imagine if this became a trend, if we did get a series of consistently well-received LEGO movies and they could just go ham with these larger-than-life builds. But now that future's gone. The Fish Army guys are great. Half of these designs would fit right into Planet Ripple as pirate crafts, so it should be no surprise that they tickle my fancy. I like that this piranha's teeth aren't perfectly symmetrical. And it wouldn't be a LEGO movie without some parental drama, so of course they brought Garmadon back. People like to point out the chest hair, but look at how many abs this guy has. They just keep going and going. Like these dioramas. There are layers over layers and layers of intricate lived-in spaces, and even if you're not a Ninjago fan, these would add some life to a city layout. Just this water is so needlessly extra. Back to the main canon, our heroes were saved from oblivion, with some mild space-time whiplash. Things came back together slightly off, like 93%, causing the characters' appearances and lives to change without them knowing. So basically it's Tuesday. This temporal facelift was LEGO's justification to change the branding to match the movie and make the jump easier for new fans. The Sons of Garmadon kicking off a new era for the main series, and while some are still resistant to this change, I'm all for it. Remember what I said about Chima's minifigs? How you can tell who's who just from their silhouette? That's an important fundamental of character design, is giving them their own shape. Sonic's spines go down, shadows go up. It's a simple thing. You see this all the time with characters like Mario and Luigi, or Boy Inoini. What the designers did here was apply that to the ninjas. Well, gave them new hairstyles at least. Up close they have more detailed faces, different eye colors, little scars, outfits that say something about each character's tastes and needs, and I love this. I can barely look at their early designs now that I'm used to this glow up. This saga went on for a couple of years, and it's where the series goes from good to great, with this biker gang cult collecting evil Oni masks to bring back Garmadon, this time without a shred of his humanity. And it was this late in the game that I finally realized something. 6 elemental heroes, masks that give the wearer powers, a dark overlord, the story continuing to mature, all this death and drama carrying one year into the next like it was one big story? Yeah, it reeks Bionicle. That's basically what Ninjago has become for this generation of LEGO fans. What Bionicle did for me, Ninjago is every bit as meaningful and ever-present in their lives. Naturally, I really enjoyed this era. The builds, while slightly smaller, were about as explosive as the movies. I guess after raising that bar, there was no going back. I mean, just look at these beasts. That is a stellar dragon. As if LEGO still had something to prove, there's the Legacy sets, revisiting a handful of builds from the beginning with all the accoutrements of 2019. Some of them are downsized, though they still got all the core details right, but others are just flexing. The new tunnel driller has such a nice shape, so many extra cartoon-accurate details, it honestly makes the original look like junk. Jay's jet does the same, all filled out and solid and properly rounded, and the monastery, I mean, I don't think I can do it justice. I've finally run out of things to say, but you do have to keep in mind we're in a different era now. These builds benefit from a host of new pieces, new techniques, they just didn't have as much to work with in 2011. That's an eternity in LEGO years, and without a solid base to build upon, I can't safely say this iteration of Ninjago would be as strong if it was the first. Without that precedent, who knows how they'd shape up. And now we've caught up, and there's not that much I can say about the latest wave without this video becoming a straight-up Ninjago advertisement, as if it wasn't already. All I'll say is, I like the mech, those pieces would look great on a Bionicle character, and I love that Cobra Rattlesnake hybrid that actually rattles. I don't think the gap between those wedges simulating a reptilian pupil, however easy to miss, is coincidence. These designers are so smart. After all the last couple years did to evolve the tone, we've dialed back a bit. It's a little more lighthearted, but it's as competently written as ever and does well juggling the funny moments with the serious moments. Point is, it continues to surprise me. It continues to remain fresh. They're taking steps to ensure the theme's ability to connect with new fans year after year. Steps they never took with Bionicle, which is probably why it's only a matter of time before Ninjago races past it, even counting the cancelled cancellation. But as consistently as I continue to enjoy Ninjago, I also kind of resent it. Time and again, LEGO's other themes sputter because Ninjago has monopolized things like dragons, mechs, mystical warriors, animal people, skeletons, demons, genies, jets, airships, giant cars, and a swath of other cool things that we used to have many lines about. But why would a kid who likes Ninjago spend money on a mech from Nexonites or Chima when Ninjago's there for them? We live in a circular age where Marvel and Star Wars are everywhere. Kids and adults mostly want things they already know they like. There just isn't much room left for new things. And hard as it is for most of LEGO's own themes to get off the ground, Ninjago blew up just early enough to become a part of that pop culture, that Ouroboros feeding on itself. So it's safe. It has its place. It gets to stay. But what about other ideas LEGO may want to try out? There's not much they can do but slap the Ninjago label on them. The only reason Hidden Side gets to live is because it's so different. mostly. It fills a different niche, so it's not competing with Ninjago for the same space the way other similar lines have. And hey, at least this forces LEGO to think further outside the box, but I hope Hidden Side and whatever comes after aren't lost in the shadow of this colossus. For better or worse, Ninjago will continue to run as long as it remains profitable for LEGO. In all likelihood, it'll still be jumping, kicking, whipping around, and spinning and doing it again in 2029 when Season 4 of LEGO Rewind rolls around, assuming enough of those other ideas have come and gone for me to look at in that time, and Ninjago isn't all there is. Don't know how long I expected this episode to be. Trying to pass it off as a ninja video almost feels like a joke now, but I hope Ninjago fans enjoyed it and can see where I'm coming from. The funny thing is, when I began this series, I had no intention of covering Ninjago despite it being one of the most requested themes. There just wasn't as much to say about it back then, and if it had retired a second time without the movie or recent seasons, I'd have much less to say. But these releases have forced me to take a long, hard look at the state of LEGO for better or worse, and I hope it gave this video some extra substance. That's it for today. If you want to support my work, please consider my graphic novel series Planet Ripple. You can buy the books on Amazon or read an early draft of the first book for free. And for the Bionicle fans in my audience, there's the Toa, my ultimate love letter to the original series. Not much further to go, peeps. Only 5 episodes left. Let's ride this roller coaster till the end of the year.